album.
The choice. The band is making
That's
the choice
totally
there
different. Yeah.
to put it up.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think that is a smarter. That for me is what streaming should be about. It should be like I watch you a bunch of times and I've got ad block on, and then it's like, hey, I really like this guy. Guess what? I'm now going to start lining his pockets because
no. Okay, so that's how subscriptions work. That's how subscription works.
The majority of people aren't going to turn their ad block off. Like, that's just a fact. A lot of people like to say that, like, oh, like, if I like a stream, like, I'll go ahead and turn it off, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not the majority of people. The large majority of people still ad block. The biggest problem with ad block, it's a multifaceted issue, right? But the biggest problem is that a lot of companies have no respect in regards to advertising, right? Go to any pornographic website and you'll get the pop unders, you'll get the fucking random boxes of pop, right? It's fucking terrible. What?
I said I've never done that before, so, you know.
Okay, well...
I'm kidding.
A lot of sites have no respect for advertising. Okay, news sites, blah, blah, blah. So that drives people. And the second thing is that the ease of using AdBlock makes it so lucrative that you would almost have to be an idiot not to use it, right? And I understand that. Like, those are the two main issues. Like, people try to get into like this moral, philosophical bullshit on should I support this, blah blah blah. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, nobody's surfing. I'm sorry, nobody's surfing streams and then going into it initially as whether you're supporting the guy or not. You know what I mean? I'm not like closing my... It'd be like if I was watching TV and I'm just like closing my eyes, so I'm not going to watch any of those ads to help support anybody. Nobody's doing that. So this whole talk about whether you're supporting the guy by watching the ads or not is a very, very...
Okay, so that's just something obviously on my mind, and probably it's not representative of the majority of people. Like, I'm obviously a little bit weird like that. Like, maybe it's my European thing, you know, like I think we're a bit more... I know, like, we attach sort of political importance to people we give money to. Americans obviously don't. That's cool. You know, fucking you live in a land that has had rigged elections in the last 20 years. So, you know, I don't blame you for not giving a fuck about politics anymore. But so anyway, so let's talk about, okay, like how intrusive ads are, how shit they are, and how it's almost at the behest of the streamer, how frequently they are played. I mean, that's a big problem. The amount of times I've seen streamers kind of try and exploit the way it works. Like, oh, I'm just going to play some ads. Then I'm going to play some ads. Then they'll get up and make some fucking, you know, food or whatever. They'll just leave ads running. You know, it's like...
Yeah, don't watch them, Richard. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Oh, no, hold on. Because the ad block thing actually contributes to those problems, because, like, here, let's take one thing for instance, okay? Something that exists on Twitch right now that should have never ever fucking existed is a pre-roll ad. It's the worst idea ever. It's the biggest fucking turn off to a stream ever. I get mad when I turn, because I don't ad block anything, because whatever the fuck, right? I'll turn on a stream because I'm curious what's going on, and I'll get hit with a 30-second ad. Half the time I'll just shut it off. It's like, fuck, I don't feel like sitting here and watching a fucking pre-roll. Like, fuck that shit. Especially if it's allowed, obnoxious, unmutable, blah, blah, blah. All these issues with ads, right? Things like that should never exist, right? But when 80%, 70% of the people that watch your platform ad block, like, nobody's going to complain about it anyway. Like, who the fuck cares if there's a pre-roll? Like, ad block, ad block, ad block. All of a sudden, instead of ever finding any real solutions to advertising problems, right? We got a ton of unmutable, bullshit, obnoxious, 3-minute, unskippable ads, blah, 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 blah. Instead of ever, like, solving any of these problems, the solution to everything becomes ad block, ad block, ad block, ad block, ad block. And then you never make any progress anywhere on the internet in regards to responsible advertising or pressuring people to advertise responsibly. Because once somebody's using ad block, they're never going to fucking turn it off. If somebody's got ad block on, it doesn't matter how responsible you advertise at that point. They're never, ever going to turn it off. It's way too convenient. There's no repercussions for using it, and there's no incentive not to use it, unless you feel like some personal commitment to the guy, which is very, very, very rare, right?
No,
so,
and that's a good point, actually, Stephen. I'm glad you brought that up. But I think that feeds into what I'm saying, which is instead of relying on your streaming platform to effectively provide the adverts for you, you know, you should reach out to partners and say, I'll play a pre-roll, or I'll stick a logo on. When are we going to get to the stage where we do personal voice endorsements, like what you're doing at the end of Unfiltered, where you badly remember the names of all the people that have given you money in the last...
You can do that, but those kinds of endorsements are so much... That falls into a different bucket of revenue entirely. One, you can never personalize an advertisement like that to different geographic regions, which is somebody earlier mentioned, why are the advertisements separate? Why don't they just integrate them into the stream? Because when you do advertisements, they run your IP address through whatever geo bullshit filter to figure out what part of the world you're in, and that determines how the advertisement is served, right? People who live in Ukraine or fucking Latvia or some South American bullshit or fucking Dubai or and all these different places, they don't all see the exact same ad. They don't all see ads for your local fucking Hy-Vee Midwest bullshit chain store that somebody like in the UK or the United States.
Yeah, no,
right? other stuff
I get that. I get that. And that's what I'm saying. It's
Also-
like
also-
the advertising
also-
isn't even personalized to the streamer I'm watching, and it's not really
Yeah, of course
necessarily tailored to me, like all my interests.
Well, they kind of are tailored to you. When the Twitch TV advertisement crew goes out and they try to sell advertising campaigns, they sell the demographic of people, right? Like we're selling this demographic of 17 to 25 males that watch streams, bullshit. Like they're trying to sell that, but the deals that they're able to secure as Twitch are deals that an individual could never secure, right? Like if I were to go run commercials on my stream right now, there's no fucking way that I'm ever personally going to get sponsored by like Ford or Chevy or whoever the fuck runs commercials, or Verizon or Samsung.
Well,
those guys are never going to personally sponsor me. I have 0% chance. But Twitch as a whole can collectively negotiate on behalf of everybody on Twitch, and they can secure advertising deals.
Well, it's
like
just
that
aggregate numbers. You know what I mean? You're not going to get a CPM from a bulk. The bulk rate that they get from all the channels is going to be way higher, right, than anything. But what's interesting is that you see other streaming, streaming companies now, like what MLG is trying to do, and they're trying to use premium content, right? And they're trying to give higher CPM or advertisers that are willing to pay more for premium content versus just any Joe Schmo that's just streaming, or just like 1,000 Joe Schmoes that are just streaming.
Sure, and YouTube streaming is actually relatively similar in that they prefer more structure, not just a random live stream. They want you to have an episodic kind of structure.
Yeah.
But I can't believe that there aren't better opportunities out there for streamers in terms of what type of advertising you do. Because I remember back when I used to do my column Gonzaria, which great name. I sadly did come up with that one, but it was like a weekly column. It was the longest running column in esports, and an energy drink company who shall remain nameless said they would do a product placement sponsor in it if I could find a way to work their product into my column each week. So it'd be like it was another late night and I was just drinking an energy drink, and it's undercover. So people are going to offer me money to do that shit. Like
this is a fallacious argument. Okay, I agree with you 100%. Okay, for what I do personally, like I've got multiple 7 or 8 decent revenue streams, right? I understand the importance of that. Okay, but that's like a huge barrier to entry. It's a really monumentous task to give to somebody who wants to get into streaming, to where you've got to try to manage all these different revenue streams. I need to get my YouTube revenue. I need to get my donation. I need to get my subscription. I need to get my AdSense on my website. I need to get I need to get my Amazon affiliate. I need to get all my sponsors. Like, to set up all these different revenue streams takes a lot of work. Like, that's a lot of shit that you've got to go through personally to manage. And especially if you've got no experience doing that. Like, how do you send, if you're a no-name nobody, like, how do you send an email to a company and say, like, hey, I want to get on your advertising thing? Or, like, how do you get, like, a website? But, like, there's all this stuff you've got to go through. Basically, like, I agree with you that you need these different revenue streams set up, but just because you need different revenue streams set up doesn't mean we can just look at one revenue stream and go, well, fuck that one, you've got all these others, right? Because the Twitch ad revenue used to be really, really good. With 3,000 or 4,000 viewers in like a 10-hour stream, like I could make easily $8,000 a month, right? In 2011, easily $8,000 a month. That has shrunk to such a small number that, like, I don't even factor in, like, when I come times to, like, do my bills and all my finances, I don't even factor in the ad revenue anymore. I make like $700 or $800 a month off of Twitch ad revenue now. Like, it's insanely fucking tiny, Like, the ad revenue is so bad. And so there's other ad revenue to be had, right? You've got the AdSense, you've got Google AdSense that I run on my site, you've got Amazon affiliate links, like there's all this other stuff to deal with. But to just arbitrarily cut one out and then to just say, well, you can find the money elsewhere, like it's not a good reason to just totally dump like one of the revenue.
No, and I get that. Okay, but so here's another. It totally makes sense. And I'm not even saying that my opinion is right. By the way, I've never been a streamer. I don't really necessarily have any plans to do it because I think it compromises my journalistic integrity just to work in those two buzzwords again that I say every week. But here's another thing. Like, my perspective isn't a little bit of this evolution, because we know we've got so many terrible streamers, like really bad, dull streamers. They're not good to watch, and maybe 2,000 viewers who are prepared to put up with that shouldn't reap such rewards, especially with the viewing numbers.
But they're not. Well, no, that's a inflation argument. They're not reaping. Hold on, stop. Whoa, hold on. That because those guys don't make a lot of money anyway. Even if they were getting 0% ad block, those guys don't have a lot of viewers. They're not going to make a lot of money anyway.
Yeah, no, I get that. You said 2,000 viewers back in the day made you quite a bit of money. I think, if you're only getting 2,000, there's probably a reason why that is, and I don't think necessarily someone who can attract 2,000 the stream should be making a living off that. I think it should be a nice little pocket money.
Okay, so
account,
let's not. No. So
to a stream.
I mean,
then
if that's true, like I didn't stream that much last month because I had my little existential bullshit. But like with the money that I make, like I made kind of like what I said earlier was half joking, where I was like, wow, like nobody fucking streams StarCraft 2 anymore. But like I understand why they don't. I understand why Grubby, Demuz, and why all these people don't really stream as much anymore, because there's no fucking ad revenue to be had. But like who wins at the end of the month there when you say like, well, if these guys aren't making like 20,000 viewers because of the 70% ad block, then maybe they don't deserve to be making money streaming. Well, I mean, then the end result of that is that people just don't fucking stream then if there's no money to be had there. Like if I see the money that I make like literally at the very fucking top of like the streaming like hierarchy of people, like there's no fucking way that anybody beneath me who's streaming for 500 fucking hours a month, you know, is making any money whatsoever. So like I mean like the end result of all that is just people just don't stream. And I mean like I guess
that's not a good solution too.
Yeah,
because the thing is,
what about the people rising to the top? Like, you know, you work at something, you don't just get a shitload of cash right at the start, and you do have to slog.
No, you don't get a shitload of cash right at the start. Like,
Rich, that's not how it works.
That's
man.
what I'm saying.
That's gymnastics that we're going through here. Like, okay, we're ad blocking at 70%, and that's fucking everything up. But that's okay because people shouldn't be making that much money because we're trying to figure out like they don't deserve to make that much, and if they want to rise to the top through the 70% ad block, then like there's so much mental gymnastics going on here to justify like ad blocking. Like it's detrimental to every person involved in every situation. It's detrimental to the people that don't ad block because now they've got to suffer through a shittier experience because all the people that do ad block are never going to complain about ads, so less people complain about it because the solution to every bad advertising problem is just ad block. It's detrimental to the content providers because they're making literally 1/4, a quarter of the possible income they could be making. It's detrimental to the fans of any game because now they've got less content to choose from because nobody's making money off of it. Like it's detrimental to the entire community. Like there's so many bad things that go into it just to justify like a little convenience of being able to click a button and not watch ads.
Okay, so
like
let me give my 2 cents on this. Okay.
Okay.
Fuck you, Chris.
So Steven, you mentioned before that you have multiple revenue channels, and you make revenue through each and every one of them, and a lot of those have come about because you're a big time streamer,
Yeah.
And the one thing about this whole running ads on Twitch and stuff is we're talking about where an ad network is linked to a platform, and what Twitch is doing, honestly, they're making money. They're making money from all of us. We're providing content for them. They're the platform. They're making, obviously a large cut of this ad revenue, then we're getting a small cut of it or whatever. But the thing is like they're just providing us an easy way to do this. And you're right. It's a pain in the ass to go and like look for your own advertisers, look for whatever products to promote, or even go look for your own ad network to maybe even integrate into your actual streaming content. But that's what you probably should be doing. So what Twitch offers us is just just for all those guys that are not educated in the advertising space to just easily just be able to get this little ad button on your channel. You just press it like every 8 minutes or whatever, and then boom, you're just making revenue from it. So yeah, they make it really easy. And before, it used to be easy, and it was easy to make money too. But the reality of it is, like, all the top streamers right now, they are getting other advertising opportunities. People getting 10K.
Yes,
10K,
of course. But this is a fallacious
like,
argument. This is like saying, like, why would you ever complain about kids in Africa being hungry when you're paying for internet connection? Like, just because one is true doesn't make everything else irrelevant. Like, the fact of the matter is with ad block, you're leaving a ton of money for free. It's just on the table.
But what I'm saying is, like, you shouldn't just stop streaming. I guess my argument
I never said you should stop streaming, but the reality is,
yeah.
like, we have to take the world for what it is, not what we would like it to be,
Sure.
right? That's a quote from a movie. I don't know if it was from Iron Man 3 or Captain America 2. I think it was a Captain America 2. I just saw it a couple days ago. It's a really good movie. The lead actor is super fucking hot. I would fuck the shit out of him. And anyway, regardless, we have to take the world for what it is, not what we want it to be. And the fact of the matter is, if you've got to go through 50 million more hoops in order to make a living streaming, then people like Grubby or people like Muslim or whatever other streamers we like to watch are just going to say fuck it and not go through it. Look at Idra. Idra loses his easy access to Twitch ad revenue and his EG revenue, and he's like, fuck it, I'm not going to do all that shit. And I don't blame him. I'm not faulting anybody for leaving the scene because it is a lot of work to send out emails and to personally hunt down sponsors and to maintain all those conversations yourselves, to set up and give all your W-9s, W-2s to all over the fucking internet, to the Amazon affiliate people, to the Google AdSense people, to the fucking Newegg people, to everything else that you ever want to get linked by, to the Impact Radius programs you got to sign up for. Like, it's a lot of fucking work to set up all of those additional revenue streams, to pay to go to the Chairman fucking aisles and pay those people the fucking for your domain, to set up your website, to pay the monthly bills for your website, to worry about hosting, to get all these to get a team in place that can manage your website. Like, there's a lot of shit that goes into it. And if you go from making like an okay amount of money on Twitch to making nothing there, and now you've got to like branch out into all of these other like revenue streams, I can say for sure right now that I probably wouldn't be streaming today. And maybe Richard would say that that's a good thing because I don't deserve it, because apparently Richard here is more of a hardcore libertarian than any American I've ever seen. But like I'm saying, like, the majority of people that stream today probably wouldn't. No, but the majority of people that stream today probably wouldn't be if they would have had to do all of this work right at the start. When I first started streaming, Twitch revenue was a very good portion of my income. I would say 80% of my income came from Twitch, maybe 70, 80%.
That was before
These
subs.
days,
before there was a sub button or any of that stuff.
Sure, but I mean, all the other stuff still existed. You still could have went out of your way to set up all the advertising in other ways. But right now, the Twitch revenue is like 20 to 25% of your income, maybe. If you're making a decent amount of money, it's maybe 20.
Not including sub revenue.
You are putting all of that on AdBlock. And I don't think that's necessarily right. Like, no one's even talking about oversaturation of content, which is got to be.
Well, that has nothing to do with any of the total irrelevant. Right now, here's the fact. Okay, if I go to my stream right now and I push the commercial button,
how is it relevant? Of course, it's relevant.
Because we're talking about ad block. If I push the commercial button right now, I can make 3 to 4 times more money if nobody ad block. Like, that's a fact. That's it. Ignoring like ad fill and whatnot, because I don't know how the ad fill specifically factors in. But I could make like at least twice as much money by pushing the commercial button right now if nobody ad block. Like, that's a fact. We can talk about other revenue streams, content saturation, all that shit if you want, blah blah blah. But regardless, like, content saturation or no content saturation, I'm still gonna have the same amount of viewers, right? Whether it's saturated or whatever.
No, if I push the commercial, I contest that. I contest that as a statement of fact.
Well, no. What I'm saying is that let's say even if there is
the only streamer, you have more viewers than if you're up against 100.
What I'm saying is that even if there is content saturation is controlled for, whether there like if there is content saturation, if there is ad block or no ad block, the amount of money I'm making is way different. Even if there's oversaturation, I've only got 1,000 viewers. If I push that commercial button, I would either make 3 times as much or not, depending on whether or not people were ad blocking.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you have more viewers in the first instance, it doesn't matter that you're if the same.
But if I had more viewers then and I push the commercial button, I'd still make, like, if I've got 1,000 viewers and I push the commercial button with no ad block, it would be like I had 3,000 viewers. But now you're saying, well, if you just had 3,000 viewers, well, if I had 3,000 viewers and I push the commercial button with no ad block, then it'd be like if I had 9,000 viewers. Like, the ad block is always going to be a factor.
Long story short, what I'm saying, right, and because we'll move away from the talk of fallacious arguments. What I'm saying is, I believe if you are a good enough streamer and a popular enough streamer, and you provide people what they want, they will support what you do, and you will make money from it. And I think
subscriptions.
I think regardless of ad block, that is
but it shouldn't have to work that way. You shouldn't have to fucking like ask.
Disagrees with that. Like, there's absolutely no one in here that said something contradicting to that. Like, no one disagrees with that. It's just an argument on whether or not ad block hurts revenue, and it does. It hurts revenue a lot. That's what the discussion's about. Are there other ways to make money?
Let me hear what desRow.
You shouldn't have to ask.
Right to do it, to use it.
Let's hear DesRow's thoughts on it. He hasn't said anything.
Like, you shouldn't have to ask for donations. You shouldn't have to ask for a subscription. Like, it really sucks that you have to rely on people to, like, go out of their way to support you while all they could do is press a button and not have ad block. Like, I had ad block for like 6 months because I like to listen to music on YouTube, and then I took it off. And I'm so fucking mad at the pre-rolls. Every time I get a pre-roll, just like Steven, I just don't even want to watch the stream. But I think what they could do is they could pull MLG and literally not give you the feed if you have ad block, but they should remove the pre-roll. And so that way everyone has to, like, turn off ad block to watch, but there's no pre-roll. And then you'll make more money just running ads in between games, because at least no one will have ad block. Otherwise, they won't be watching Twitch. Like, that's the only solution.
I feel like the pre-roll, I feel like the pre-roll is more reactive to all these ad block stuff. It's almost like trying to monetize all the folks that don't have it. Just, you know.
Well, no, the pre-roll has been there since the beginning of time, but maybe it has to go for.
I thought it was. Okay. I thought adblock was a much bigger issue.
The reality is adblock isn't going to go away. It's going to be something that you're going to have to deal with. And I'm not saying, like for me personally, I like the idea of someone being able to pick and choose who gets money. That's just me. It's not even a representative view of the majority. You know, I'm seeing some people in the chat saying I must have an IQ of 50 because I have a different opinion to them. But also some people agree with it. So what I'm trying to say is, like, I know it would be better if the successful streamers weren't necessarily relying on that particular facet of streaming to be the the bulk or what gets them over the line of being able to do it full time. All the streamers that I see that I respect that have big numbers, they don't just rely on the bulk of the Twitch ad revenue. They've got partnerships and all sorts of stuff. And I know it sucks that you've got to work to get that, but I think that's what's going to define the next generation of great streamers.
But that's not true. A lot of those people don't actually manage any of it themselves. They're on teams that manage all of it for them. The amount of thought that they put into securing sponsors, like the average TSM guy probably doesn't know shit about trying to land a sponsorship deal because Reggie does all of the work. We haven't
even talked about the subscription revenue, guys. Streamers make
because we're talking about ad block, motherfucker.
I know, but I'm just saying, Richard's not even thinking about that.
This is like on a larger.
The subscriber options, again, that substantiates my argument.
Exactly.
On a larger philosophical level, okay? Web design in general has undergone a lot of revision, right? If we compare where we're at today in the way that internet and in the way that websites are designed for consumption on the internet, if we compare today where we were at 10 to 15 years ago with like Angel Fire and GeoCities and all these terrible fucking web designs, right? You notice that like the W3C, like all these fucking people have gotten together and tried to streamline things. We don't build websites out of tables anymore unless you're Team Liquid, et cetera, et cetera. We've done all these things to like get things more streamlined and better and user friendly. Like we're working really hard on all of that. But advertising is one of those things that it seems like we haven't like ever really tackled. Like there needs to be a really big global discussion, international global discussion on what is responsible advertising. And as long as the majority of people's solutions to bad advertising is to ad block, I don't think that discussion will ever happen. Obviously, this is a little bit removed from gaming shit, but like it's really annoying to me that there are so many websites, even large websites, big news websites. I wanted to read a news story the other day. It was like on CNN or something, or it was a big news site like ABC News or some bullshit. And I tried to click and read the story, and there was a hidden fucking video. There was a hidden video embedded somewhere on the fucking site that I couldn't mute. Holy shit! Like on a multi-billion-dollar company on a website this existed. Like that kind of shit should have been weeded out a long time ago when we were doing all these other revisions. When we were implementing CSS over HTML, to make web pages look nicer, more. When we were doing all this shit, like advertising got completely fucking left to the side. And personally, I feel like one of the reasons why advertising is never talked about is because the solution has and always will be to just ad block if you don't like it. I think it would be nice if you could surf the internet without ad block and everything would be advertised responsibly, like Reddit, the way that Reddit does it, where all the advertisements are they're not videos, they're not sound, it's just text things on the side, like shit like that. The entire internet should have moved in that direction, but it never will as long as 70% of the people on the internet ad block when they don't like something.
Okay, so what I would say to that is, and I totally agree with you. Definitely, we are 100% in agreement. Like there needs to be a serious discussion about responsible advertising, internet-based. But obviously, we can only really focus on esports, with our current level of expertise and experience. And I think like right in the same way that like I know the music industry and the film industry have all had to work around the ability to download stuff online, piracy, and good things have come out of it, like what Netflix are doing, and there's been positive progress by embracing what is perceived to be the problem. What we do in esports is we just whine about ad block and we just beg people not to use it, and I think we're being ridiculously naive. What we need to do is we need to come up with ways of saying, look, if you don't use ad block, you're going to get all these cool stuff, or we need to find a way to make ad block work for us. That's really what I'm saying.
Million, billion, trillion% agree with that. Like I said, you've got to look at the world as it is and not what you like it to be. That's true. I mean, that's why I never talk about ad block, or I never complain about it, because you're never going to change the masses' opinions without like a huge movement. You're never going to change, like more than the StarCraft 2 community, more than the entire gaming community. We're taking an entire movement on the internet to change people's minds about ad block. So I 100% agree with that. That there's no point in crying about ad block. I never do it, and any tournament that does it is wasting their time doing it because people are never going to turn their ad block off. So yeah, I agree with you there 100%.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. I have very awkward conversations with my bosses whenever we talk about it. Like, part of my job managing a website is, ads and site skins. We've got a site skin on there at the moment, I think, for Guild Wars 2. And obviously I'm an advocate of ad block. It doesn't make for an easy alliance. But I just think, there's a way to embrace what to do And what we know they do, and you're saying it's as high as 70%. I mean, again, industry people are telling me 40, but I know what you're saying about the whole demographic thing. But I think like the only way you ever move forward is by trying to conquer a problem. And to use an analogy, because I know you're fond of them, Stephen, I think currently in the esports industry, what we're actually trying to do is we're trying to basically beat crime by having policemen go out and say, please don't commit crimes. I just don't. We're not going to investigate them should you commit them, and we're not going to try and prevent them. We're just going to ask you not to do it. And that wouldn't be an effective way to police an issue. And in the same way, and it's not an effective way to tackle the ad block problem. If it is indeed a problem, maybe one of the problems we've got in moving past the ad block issue is that everyone just sees it as a problem. You know, maybe if we actually saw it as consumer choice,
I mean,
and something that's going to exist, we could, yeah, okay, well, it is. It's a problem for streamers and it's a problem for esports websites, but to a lot of people out there, it's a solution.
It's a problem for every single person on the internet that produces content. There have been websites way larger than anything involved in gaming that have written about the problems of ad block and differences. But I mean, like, on the other hand too, like, content consumers need to also be aware that, like, when people start complaining that, you know, like I was just complaining about it earlier, that the GSL is charging like $60 for access to VODs or for like a yearly subscription or whatever, or $20 for a monthly subscription. When you see all these prices, and everyone's like, oh, this is fucking bullshit. Why do we have to pay so much, blah, blah, blah. Like, the reason why people are charging money now for a lot of content is because it's the only fucking way to make money. And when everybody fucking ad blocks, like, you have to look to other, like Richard says, and like I agree with, when everybody ad blocks, you have to look to other channels to access more revenue. Like, you need the money. The money has to come from somewhere, else the content dies. And if advertising isn't going to do it, then I mean, in other ways, to charge users a premium for access to certain content, you know.
Yep.
Okay, so just final questions. I know Chris is getting to move on, but I would really like Destiny and desRow's thoughts on it. And that is, do you not think esports content-wise would benefit if we had this period of difficulty where the people who were streaming now and not making a lot of money of it effectively gave up, and we didn't have this oversaturation, and then the people who were left standing, you know, enter into this new glorious era of, you know, we actually get high quality content instead of an oversaturation of very mediocre content,
or you get just only mediocre content because all the high level content's gone.
I don't think but I don't think high level content will go. I think I do genuinely believe that on a long enough time frame, all the best content will come to the top, will be embraced by the community, and will be profitable. I genuinely believe that. I honestly don't. I honestly think I've seen it a million times. You know, streamers who stream at the 200 people now stream.
This is literally the only show. This is the only fucking show on the internet where you have an American and a fucking British dude on, and the British guy is the one who's got the crazy fucking libertarian views. No other show on the internet. No other show on the internet is gonna give you this, guys.
All right, guys. On that note,
oh shit.
On that note, we're gonna take a quick break. So I
Wait,
can.
he asked for our opinions.
He asked a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell, channel man?
Right,
Fucking filtered, dude.
So it's already happening. Like, people don't watch player streams, man. They only watch tournaments for StarCraft and for Dota 2 and for CSGO. Like, the numbers for tournaments is insane, and then the player streams is like crumbs of a like giant loaf of bread. So it's already happening.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
The I mean, like, if whether or not people make a lot of money streaming, like, people are always going to watch the best content, and people are always going to want to make more money. I don't think it's fair to say that, like, well, this guy's making $5,000 now. Maybe if we cut his salary to $1,000 a month, he'll make way better content. Like, I don't think that's a good argument. If he's making $5,000 and with better content he would make $15,000, I think he'll go after the $15,000. If that does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
okay, but what if it was think of it like a bonus scheme? You know, so I don't pay you a set rate, but I put you down on a lower tier starting wage, but the more you achieve, the more money, you know.
Yeah, but it's like that whether or not you're making, whether you're making a lot of money or a little money, it's already like that. Like, if there was no ad block, like right now with ad block, like you can get like 1,000 viewers and get some more money, and that'd be great. But without ad block, those 1,000 viewers would be worth even more. So I mean, like, it can go both ways, you know.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for this topic. So let's take a quick break so I can
don't be sad, Chris. I thought that was good. We really had nothing to talk about. We milked that